Now, coming back to if you look at the AI stack, and very simply, there are three buckets, right? Which is infrastructure, applications, and dev tools. How should Indian startups look at each of these buckets, specifically with the lens of what is truly addressable by them?
So, Soumitra, you and I have been in the startup ecosystem for like decades now, right? And you and I know of companies which have tried to build the Google of India. They have tried to build the Facebook of India. And all of us know that the answer to Google of India is Google. The answer for Facebook for India is Facebook. I'm sure like there will be trials out that will be made right now. But what happens is when you're playing in the platform games are not restricted by country boundaries. Unless, of course, you're China, right? Where it'll stamp on a regulation and say, okay, Google not allowed. And then the regulation actually creates a Baidu and things like that. But what happens in platforms when you go at infra level where platform dynamics kicks in, global platforms win, right? So at the infra layer, OpenAI of India is going to be OpenAI, right? Or any foundation model company of India is going to be like the global foundation model that are there. Unless, of course, for sovereign reason, India as a country decides to actually build foundation model, which is very critical from a sovereign reason perspective. I would actually say like someone trying to build a foundation model from India or an infra company from India is not at a specific advantage, right? So unless they are competing directly with the Coheres, the Anthropics, and the OpenAIs of the world where you're like raising boatloads of money. One thing in general, I would say as a thumb rule is to see that what is your own unique advantage. Every country has to ask it, every individual has to ask, saying, what is your unique advantage? What are the things that you can uniquely bring towards the table? And I don't think infra is the space where, for an Indian founder, where it is a oligopoly, where like only 6 or 5 players that are going to be dominant in the market eventually, you can find an area of advantage unless it is backed by regulation and government. Right. So in which case, I would say the infra is not a great place to play in. But having said that, I have seen so many companies which have built infra tools, right? Where you're building the application, but to build the application, you need tools to build those tools, right? Those places, there are like handful of companies that have come up. Some have done really well. Like, Postman, we know as a great example. They have built really good tools because India is a great developer market. There are many great developers out there and they understand the developer psyche. That is slightly better place to be in. I think where the advantage is that Indian founders can get into the depth of a use case way better than any other founders, at least I have seen. So I would say that Indian founders should look at applications. Within that, the areas that I'm particularly excited about is not those horizontals where, let's say, a valley in or like an incumbent would want to come and play if they know that this is $1 billion market. You pick applications which are vertical, unsexy, boring, that a valley plus an incumbent wouldn't want to come and play. And you get an edge and advantage because you can go deep in the use case and you know that there is going to be little competition from valley startups as well as incumbents. So in terms of picking an area, I would actually pick vertical, boring, unsexy space to build an AI application. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the platform versus dev tools versus application? Where do you stand on that?
I would largely agree with you. I think infra is obviously going to be much harder just because a lot of the foundational models are going to cut across geographies. They are also very capital intensive to build. They also require a certain kind of technical talent to be able to even make progress on these things. And a lot of that is kind of more readily available in the US and particularly in the Bay Area. I mean, probably a lot of this is not even available in other Western countries, right? So I think there'll definitely be a need. Although I think Bhavesh Ovola will probably differ with both of us, and he's trying to kind of change that, which I'm all for. My view is that India should definitely have its own open AI. It's going to be hard, but I think there are founders who can make it happen. On the dev tool sides, I agree. I think dev tools is definitely going to be an opportunity. I think I have kind of a different question on dev tools, which is what is the right timing or when is the right kind of why now going to happen for dev tools, right? Because AI itself is so early. Even the application layer the infra layer is early right now, right? And now you're seeing kind of the first generation applications coming up. How much lag will there be in terms of real dev tool adoption at scale, right? As infra and applications start getting developed. I think Indian founders definitely have the skill set, right, to make a dent there. Applications, I think, of course, there has been a lot of talk around it. If you look at Web 1.0, Web 2.0, right? I mean, applications is where the real value ultimately ends up getting created. I think Indian founders, especially over the last decade, have proven that they can build very deep vertical SaaS companies. And I think a lot of that skill set is very easily transferable. I think applications are just going to get supercharged with AI. I wrote a blog post about this a few months back that really to differentiate in the application layer in AI, at least I have my, and this is again my working hypothesis, I netted out to two things, which is you need data and you need workflows, right? Like data, because I mean, a lot of the data needs, you need first party data to be able to train your models, to be able to come out with those kind of insights. And to get to data, you need go to market, right? You need to be ahead of competitors in terms of getting to customers first, which is anyway a classic requirement, right, of building any software product or SaaS company. Workflows, I think, will need to be reimagined with AI. And I think it's very similar to how, as cloud really started hitting an inflection point, the likes of Notions and Figma really reimagined how these same workflows that were happening on-prem or in more bulky software, how could they happen in a more collaborative environment on the browser, right, using cloud capabilities. I think similar things are going to happen in AI, which again brings to at least brought me to the point where classic product management becomes even more important, which is again a requirement of building any software product or SaaS company. So to me, at least in that, and that was I netted out in that post saying that look, so the nothing changes, right? You still need to execute in a similar way.